Good morning, traders. How are you all doing today? Karibuni sana. Glad you could all join us this fine Thursday morning. Hope everyone is doing well. Apologies for starting a couple of minutes late, or quite a bit of minutes late. We didn't need to end up having a look at a few fundamentals that did come up at 9. Need to adjust the watch list slightly before we did end up presenting to you. But we can jump straight into it. So at least we make sure we go through all the pairs. So everyone, hello everyone, how are you doing today? My name is Mitch Caniero, a trader with Afriforex, and I want to welcome you to another Afriforex daily analysis session. Now, you do know during these webinars, we as the Afriforex team, we analyze the markets, we identify what trading opportunities we will be looking at taking for the day, and we do share that information with you. As usual, we do have John, he is here in the back office. So he'll be here to assist you in whatever questions or queries you might have. So feel free to ask those questions either in the Q&A section or in the chat box, and John will respond to you. But remember, I will be addressing any and all questions that are placed on. Apologies for that. Seems might have to ask John to take over since it seems that power issues have come about. So let me just ask John kindly take over if at least he gets ready. But what I can possibly do is start off at least by sharing with you what the watch list is today. As John gets ready, then we'll be able to hopefully switch. So apologies for that. Just give me 1 second. At least you guys know that these sessions are live and not pre-recorded. So let's see. Here we go. So hope you can see my screen. Now, today, our bias, as you can see, our watch list has been the same, pretty much the same throughout the whole week. But today, things have changed at least. So yesterday, we were looking for buying opportunities on the New Zealand dollar, the British pound, as well as the Australian dollar. And we're looking to mix and match all those three pairs with the pairs on the sell side. So you can see that the euro, the Canadian dollar, the Swiss franc, the US dollar, as well as the Japanese yen. Now, today, you can see there's been a mass exodus from pairs on the sell side and moving to the buy side. So today, our focus is going to be looking for selling opportunities on the Swiss franc, similar to yesterday. The Japanese yen as well is still weak, and the US dollar as well. So we focus on these three pairs. We're going to mix and match them with all these pairs on the buy side. So that's the New Zealand dollar, the British pound, the Australian dollar, Canadian dollar, as well as the euro. So let's see if I can end up quickly going and browsing through my trading view, and so that we can end up seeing what at least the pairs that we had yesterday that we're not going to be looking at today before we do look at today's pairs. So here we go. So we'll start off here with the New Zealand dollar against Canadian dollar. Now, yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out. Now, it seems that the big boy buyers were not really interested in actually coming in. It seems that the Canadian dollar actually ended up getting quite a bit of strength. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out initially during the London session. The price was within this particular buyer's area. Wanted to see whether or not the price was actually going to hold to the upside. Unfortunately, that did not happen. You can see the price managed to come down. Once it was holding below, you can see this is around 3:30, around 4:30 or so, the New York Stock Exchange opened. And that's when it really ended up getting a lot of strength, breaking this area to the downside. And once it did that, this pair unfortunately did fall off our watch list. So there was no opportunity for us on the New Zealand dollar against Canadian dollar. So moving on to the next Canadian dollar pair, you can see similar correlation. During the London session, wanted to see how the price was going to react in this particular area. You can see the price really did come down very, very aggressive, coming all the way down towards this particular buyer's area where the buyers did end up reacting just before 3 o'clock, before the US session opened. You can see the price looked as if it attempted to come back to the upside and actually hold above. Unfortunately, that did not happen. You can see 4:30, similar situation with the other Canadian dollar pairs. We did not get a proper hold to the upside. And you can see the price really did come down, really falling off our watch list. So unfortunately, there was no trading opportunity for us, or at least a proper one for us on that pair. Now, here we have the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. Now, yesterday, our bias was to look for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that we had pointed out, but it's a similar situation where the Canadian dollar pair started showing a lot of strength during the New York Stock Exchange open. You can see at 10 o'clock, the price started coming down lower. At 3, the price was holding there, but similar situation at 4:30, that's when the price really did end up coming to the downside. But you can see right now, even though the price has managed to come, it came all the way back to the extreme area. Seems that the US big boys were not interested. But right now, you can clearly see the price has managed to break to the upside and it's holding to the upside. And you can see the price pushing up higher. But this was around 4 in the morning. Unless you are awake trading the Asian session, that would have been a bit difficult to get. But this has mainly something to do with the Australian dollar still showing a lot of strength. So even though the Canadian dollar showed strength yesterday, this is just basically because of the Australian dollar, and we'll end up having a look at those pairs as well moving on. So the next pair for review that we did end up having that we're not looking at today was the euro against the New Zealand dollar. Now, this is part of the reason why we have taken a bit of time to actually start the webinar. Fundamentals for euro have changed because yesterday we were looking for selling opportunities, and you can see based on those 3 areas, the prices did end up pulling back. At 10 o'clock, we're within a seller's area. Wanted to see what kind of reaction we did end up getting. We did not get any, and you can see the price managed to break to the upside, holding above, and the price did manage to continue going up. Similar situation from 3, as well as around 4:30, the price just continued going. Once the price did end up breaking and holding above this red support and resistance area, it did end up falling off our watch list. Even though right now it's possibly attempting to come down, maybe the New Zealand dollar, remember, it's still on the buy side, so it could be attempting to show us some strength. But unfortunately for us, this pair could potentially end up giving us issues today, and that's the reason why it is off our watch list. Now, moving on to the next pair that we did end up having, did have the euro against the British pound. Now, in this kind of pair, our bias yesterday was to look for selling opportunities. And you can see most of the euro pairs did seem to be on a very big and deep pullback. So you can see once the price did end up breaking this area to the upside and the price was holding above, there was no trading opportunity for us, even though the price managed to go up slightly higher. And at 4:30, we can see, so even in fact at 3, the price started coming down lower. Unfortunately, at that time, no trading opportunity for us. So last but not least, for the pairs for review, we did have the euro against the Australian dollar. Similar situation, you can see our bias was to look for selling opportunities. Unfortunately, yesterday during the London session as well as the US session, the market was on its pullback. You can see similar situation with the other Australian dollar pair we had a look at, did end up coming back to the extreme area. And right now, as the price is coming down, this is mainly due to the Australian dollar showing us a lot of strength. So I hope that is clear, at least for the pairs that we did have yesterday, the one that we're not going to be looking at today. So I'll kindly ask John, I don't know if he's ready, to be able to share for us, and so that at least he can end up moving through the pairs for today. So John, are you available? Don't think he is just yet. So I think we'll just continue. What we can do and is show you guys at least the screenshots that we did end up getting yesterday, because we did end up getting quite a few. So very many good opportunities that a number of the people, at least of you guys, did manage to get. So let me just quickly show you guys what it is. So we'll start off here, since we did end up getting quite a good amount of screenshots. So we'll start off here with Alvin. Alvin did manage to grab a very nice buying opportunity on the volatility index, but I'm a bit worried about the strategy you're using. It looks like you might be using the martingale system. Not too sure about that. Just based on the fact where your entries are and the lot sizes that you're getting in as the price is going up higher. This strategy does work a number of times, but it only takes one time for it to not work, and it could end up blowing your account. So I do end up hoping at least you are trading with a stop loss, managing your trades properly, but still very, very good job on this trade, Alvin. And you did manage to end up getting, sorry, can you not see my screen? Sorry, no, let me ask John to end up presenting. Apologies for that. So John, I think you can be able to take over. I think we'll end up sharing these screenshots with guys tomorrow.
No worries, no worries. All right, morning guys, hope everyone is well. Apologies for what's going on. Some things are just uncontrollable, but the show must continue nonetheless. So hope everyone is well. So Mitch is now in the back office, so I'm here. For the sake of guys who are new to me, to us, John Pogba is my name. I'm a trader with Afriforex. Afriforex is a trading unit. So let the show continue. So I guess we'll just start off by looking at the currency pairs that we do have for today. the screenshots, like Mitch has pointed out, we'll just end up looking at them tomorrow. So we'll start off with, or by looking at the watch list. You can see that Mitch had already shown you that. So we'll start off with the Swiss franc pairs, mix and match them up with everything on the buy side, then move on to the yens, then we'll finish off with the USDs, and then definitely finish off with the indices and the commodities. So we'll start off with this one. This is the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. Now for this one, yesterday, we were trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities, and you can see the three regions right there that Mitch had pointed out. And of course, in the morning, you can see that price was somewhere within here. We're expecting the buyers to possibly kick in from there. They did. You can also see some sort of an illustration that he had pointed out within this region. We're expecting maybe some sort of a spike, maybe price tapping in within this region before the buyers came in. But you can see that the buyers just came in. This was at around 9:30, 10. During the Frankfurt, moving into the London session, and you can see that price did move to the upside quite well. Came back in, price is more or less contained within this same region. So even if you did miss out on buying opportunities yesterday, today is another day. So let's see what happens within these regions right here. So hopefully you can end up taking note of them, but it's more or less the same areas that we did have yesterday. Don't chase the buys right now. In as much as you're seeing the market moving to the upside, it might not really be a good time to look for the buys within this region here. Let's wait and see if we can get the market coming back in within this region. If it does, then at least we could try and see whether we could get the buying opportunities within this region. Or if the market does actually break above this region to the upside, hopefully we do get a proper hold. Maybe even some attempts, by the sellers to push the market to the downside, which actually end up being successful. Then we could possibly try and see whether we could get buying opportunities within that region right there. So do watch out for that, but also remember the region at the bottom. It's also a possibility price can also come back in within that region there. So the next one, this is the Great British Pound against the Swiss franc. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. Can clearly see the three regions right there that Mitch had pointed out. And in the morning, when we're looking at the charts, price was somewhere within this area right here. So we did want to see price come back into the upside of this area to look for the buys. The Swiss franc pairs yesterday worked out pretty well. I mean, when you end up looking at what happened yesterday, especially during the London session, they did move to the upside pretty well. So for today, these are the three areas we'll be looking at. I can't think of this region, although this was an area that Mitch had pointed out that price could have possibly come back in. This was a trade that I did end up taking yesterday, but we'll end up looking at the screenshots tomorrow. So make sure that you do end up staying tuned for that. So these are the three areas we'll be watching out for. Just minor adjustments in terms of the area that we're looking out for, but still more or less for buying opportunities. Right now, we're within a seller's region. You can see that the sellers have reacted off here before. So we'll have to wait and see whether we can get the market, hopefully breaking above this region to the upside. If we do get a hold, then we could try and see whether we could resume with the buying opportunities there. But we also do expect that maybe price can come back here. And that's the reason why you can't see this dotted line. So it's an alert we put there. If we do go up to the 1 hour time frame, what you will see is that the market is in some sort of looks like some sort of an upward channel, some sort of a range. So there's a possibility you could find price coming back in within this region. If it does, then at least we will be ready to see whether we can get some buying opportunities there. So the next one, this is the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one, also a currency pair that we did have yesterday. We're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities as well. And you can see the three regions right there that Mitch had pointed out, and also an illustration of what to expect. So if I go down to the 1 hour time frame, just to get more context of what happened. So you can see that price was down here at around 9:30 there. About price took off to the upside. We're expecting that, although we did expect to see something that would have possibly been able to read within that area. But you can see that just like we've seen on the rest of the Swiss franc pairs, the market did actually move up quite aggressively. The pullback came in just like we've seen on some of them, especially the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. So we will be waiting to see whether we can get some buying opportunities, but not right now. Right now, you can see that the market has already gone up. I mean, if you missed out on the buys within here earlier, then you shouldn't really be chasing the buys when the market is all the way high up within that region. So let's wait and see. If we can't get the market breaking above this region to the upside, we can actually get that and a nice strong breach to the upside. If the market just breaks and sits above this region, then it might actually not be too good for us. So we need a nice strong breach to the upside, nice pullback we can read. Hopefully when the market comes back in here, could be maybe about 4:30, could try and see whether we could get the buying opportunities within there. So also watch out for these regions right here. Also possibilities, you could find the prices coming back down. If they do, then at least we will also be ready for that. So the next one, this is the Canadian dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one, new entrant on our watch list, we will be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. So these are the 3 areas you should be watching out for. So make sure that you do take note of them. But you also can't see that just like the rest of the Swiss franc pairs, the strength that came in yesterday, the market more or less holding. So it is also back in within some sort of a seller's region. Let's wait and see if hopefully these buyers can kick back in, hopefully break that area to the upside. Get a nice pullback and a hold within here, then we could try and see whether we could get some buys there. But also watch out for this area. It's a major level, of course, considering the fact that the market broke above this region quite aggressively to the upside yesterday, and it's visible on the bigger time frame. There's a possibility you could find a pullback and a retest happening off this area right here. So if that does end up happening, then at least we could possibly try and get some very good buying opportunities within here. So I can also possibly set an alert within that area there. Hopefully we do get the pullback, then possibly I could end up getting a good buy there. But also remember the red SNR at the bottom. It's a long shot, but remember there's no price that's too far, when it comes to the Forex market. Right now, the market could be higher within a particular region. It only takes one session. So you could find that maybe during the London session, the market could be on the pullback phase. Then you could find that maybe at around 4:30, price could be back in within a region of support. So you just need to watch out for that. So the next one, this is the euro against the Swiss franc. Almost more or less similar to the other Swiss franc pairs. Can't see the strength coming in, the pullback. Although this one has a bit of room, but hopefully we do get the market coming back in as close as possible within here. If it can't do that again, then I think there could be some good buying opportunities here to come up and challenge that region at the top there. But you can see that also this one, it broke this region to the upside quite aggressively yesterday. This is a level that's quite visible on the bigger time frame. And you can see that the market pulled back in right within that region. Buyers are now pushing to the upside. So there's still a possibility we could get the price coming in within here. Don't really want to be chasing buys higher up because you're also not too sure whether the market could actually react off this minus SNR within here. And you could find that it could just tap in there. These sellers could attempt to push the market back into the downside, back within this region right here. And then you could find that after that, maybe during the US session, you could get the market moving to the upside. So just make sure that you do watch out for that. And no matter what you do, always make sure that you do trade with a stop loss at all times and stick within your risk parameters. So that's pretty much it for the Swiss franc pairs. So we're going to move on to the next set of currency pairs, which are the yen pairs. So we're going to do the same. Mix and match them up with everything on the buy side. So we'll start off with the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one, this is a currency pair that we also did end up having yesterday. So it's just a trade idea that we had with the team. Today seems to be moving to the upside, but I'll just get rid of that for now so that we can concentrate on what we need to do. So looking back at what happened yesterday, these are the 3 areas that we had, more or less the same areas that we do have moving into today. So yesterday in the morning, price was somewhere within here. You can see that Mitch did illustrate that we're expecting maybe some sort of a pullback coming back in within here, price going to the upside, but the price just shot to the upside. This was during the Frankfurt session. Attempted to break during the London session, couldn't. Can't see that it pulled back in during the US session, and the market has been holding within here. And right now, you can see that the market has come back in within this region. So it's in some sort of a range. So definitely should be watching out for these areas right here, bottom of the range, top of the range. In terms of looking for the buys, it might not really be the best of ideas to look for the buying opportunities now. Hopefully we can get the market breaking above here to the upside. So let's say the buyers do sustain their momentum and we get a breach and a hold to the upside of this region, a breach of this structure that's formed within here, this range, then we could try and see whether we could get buys there. But also looking for the buys within here might not be so good, because you can't see that if we're approaching the top of the range, sellers are definitely sitting here and you could find the market back in here. So you just need to be patient. Maybe 3,430 price could be there. If it needs a much better price, then at least we also do have these buyers right here who could possibly also help us to get the job done. So just watch out for that. But remember the red SNR at the bottom. In case price breaks and holds beneath that region to the downside, then unfortunately there will be no trade for us. So the next one is a Great British Pound against the Japanese yen. So for this one, also a currency pair we had yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could get some buys. You can see the three regions right there that Mitch had pointed out. The market took off. This was at 9 during the Frankfurt session, went to the upside. Unfortunately, we couldn't get some proper pullbacks. Currency tapped there, came back in. Seems like there was some sort of a minus NR within here, which seems that the market is currently holding, within this area right here. The number of times the market has actually pushed itself off that region there means that maybe if the market also could come back in within here, you could watch out and see if you could get, some trades within there. Although you really need to be a real sniper on the charts, to get some proper risk to reward, especially if you're going to be getting buys off this area coming up within this region. Just need to be quite good, because you need to get a really tight stop so that you can get some proper risk to reward coming up. But let's wait and see what happens. Hopefully the market can break above this region to the upside. Then we could try and see whether we could get some buys within there. If not, hopefully we can possibly come back in within this region, because this still remains to be the major SNR. Then at least we could get some good buys within that region. If not, then at least we do have the last area, which is going to be somewhere within there. So just make sure that you do watch out for that. So the next one, this is the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one, yesterday we were also trying to see whether we could get some buys. You can clearly see the three regions right there, an illustration of what we're expecting. Price broke to the upside, pulled back in, but you can see that the buyers really struggled, to lift off this area to the upside. Price came back in. So some sort of an scenario within here, which you can see that even today during the Asian session, the market has somehow pushed itself off that region to the upside. But the three areas that we will be watching out for are these three areas right here. And hopefully you can end up taking note of them. So let's see what happens. Right now, the market has just broken above this region to the upside. So we're waiting to see what happens. If the market can come back in within here, and hopefully we can get the buyers coming in better than what they did yesterday, then we could possibly try and see whether we could get buys, especially if the market could possibly just come back in. Of course, we don't want to see the aggressive sellers, but what we want to see is an attempt, of the sellers to possibly push the market to the downside, which ends up being unsuccessful. And if we see a struggle and something like that, then at that point in time, I'd definitely be looking to see whether I could get some buying opportunities. But right now, the market is moving up. I don't really think it would be a good idea to actually end up chasing the market. I mean, there's so many opportunities that we're looking at. You don't really need to force issues, on any one particular currency pair. But also watch out for this area right here. There's a possibility price can come back in there. And we also do have this other region, which is going to be the last area right here, where we'll also be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. So hopefully you can end up taking note of that. So the next one, this is the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. So this is a new entrant on our watch list. We'll be trying to see whether we can get buys. Right now, the market has gone back in within a seller's region. Can't see the sellers have reacted before, although the buyers have stepped up quite aggressively to that region. And it seems like to some extent, maybe the sellers could be struggling. But we do need more detail and more information. And in any case, the best area to look for the buys would be on the higher side of this region. If we can break to the upside of this area right here, and hopefully you can see that the market has been coming up, which is good, making a sequence of higher highs and higher lows. So if they can break above this region to the upside and we get the pullback here, we could try and see whether we could get buys. If not, then at least we do have this region right here. And as much as, of course, there are minus and Rs, within these regions here, where you could possibly find that the buyers could, be looking for those prices to possibly push the market to the upside. But ideally, the main areas that we will be watching out for are those two regions right there. So hopefully you can end up taking note of that. So last but not least, in terms of the yens, we do have the euro against the Japanese yen. So this is also a new entrant on our watch list. So we will be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities on this one as well. So watch out for these three regions right here. This one is more or less similar to what we've seen on the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen, the market coming up. It's just up within that region. We definitely need to see a breach to the upside of this area. If we can't, then we'll have to wait and see whether we can get some buying opportunities within this region right here. So hopefully you've also taken note of that. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms of the yen pairs. So right now we're going to move on to the USD pairs, mix and match them up with everything on the buy side. So we're going to start off with the New Zealand dollar against the Japanese, the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar, rather. So for this one, yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. And you can see the three regions right there that Mitch had pointed out. So aggressive, conservative, semi-aggressive, conservative here. And you can't see an illustration of what we're expecting. But unfortunately, the market came back in within here, couldn't get any buyers, to push the market to the upside. So can't see that the buyers really struggled. The sellers really pushed the market to the downside, even breaching beneath this region to the downside. So for this one, for today, we're going to be trying to see whether we still can get some buying opportunities. So watch out for these three areas. We've adjusted them accordingly, of course, based on what the story of price is telling us. Right now, in terms of looking for the buys, might not really be the best because you can see that the market broke to the downside. This could be some sort of a retest, coming back in within here after this breach to the downside. So since you're not too sure about that, it's better to actually wait and see if you could possibly get the market either breaking above this region to the upside. If we do get a breach and a hold to the upside of this area, then we could possibly try and see whether we could get some buys there, maybe to come back up and challenge these sellers somewhere within that region. If we don't end up getting that, then what could happen, especially the market bounces off that region, and these sellers do attempt to break their previous record, you could easily find the market back in within this region. And at least if we do get the slowdown, the sellers within here, and we get evidence, that the buyers are coming back in, then at that point in time, we could try and see whether we could get our buys. But right now, the best thing to do is to actually be on standby, to actually wait and see what the big boys actually do end up doing. Remember, when it comes to trading, you need to be very fluid. Don't be very, very rigid. It's if the market does this, then I will do that. If it does this, then I'll do that. You just need to make sure that you have a plan and a proper plan and follow your plan to the T. So the next one, this is the Great British Pound against the US dollar. So for this one, also a currency pair we had yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could get some buying opportunities. You can see the three regions right there that Mitch had pointed out. And in the morning, when we're looking at the charts, price was somewhere here, or somewhere within this region here. So at around 9:10, we wanted to see the market come back in within this region and hopefully bounce off there. Maybe if we got some sort of a hold within here, we could have looked for the buys. But you can see that the market really broke to the upside aggressively, but the pullback also came in quite aggressively. We couldn't get anything to tell us to look for the buys here. So for this one for today, we're going to be back at it as well today in terms of looking for the buys. So we've adjusted the areas accordingly. So hopefully you can end up taking note of these three regions right here. And you can see that the buyers are just really struggling to push the market to the upside. So there's a possibility there could be no big boy in this, because when the big boys normally come into the markets, they don't usually come in like this. So there's a possibility you could find that maybe the market might even bounce off these areas right here, maybe come back in. The sellers might attempt to break their previous record. If that happens, then at least at that point in time, I'll be getting ready to see whether I could get the buying opportunities, because maybe they need that last one push, before they actually give up. Because if you see the buyers struggling like this, it means that most probably the sellers are still quite there in the market and they're really giving the buyers issues. So for this one, let's wait and see what happens. Set an alert here. Could give some good potential, but also remember, in case the sellers do come in heavy and actually break this region to the downside and the market holds beneath that region to the downside, then unfortunately, at that point in time, there will be no trade for us. So moving on into the next one, this is the Australian dollar against the US dollar. So for this one, yesterday, we're trying to also see whether we could get some buys. You can clearly see just looking at all the USDs yesterday, they didn't really quite work out the band. So it tells you that the big boys, they were not yet in terms of, looking for the buying opportunities on these USDs that we're looking at. So let's see what happens today, because you can also see that this one, we're watching out for buys. The 3 areas that were pointed out, we wanted to see the buyers come in. Fortunately, you can't see the sellers really came in quite aggressively. So let's see what happens today. Maybe the big boys might be interested in selling the US dollar. Yesterday, it seems that they were quite interested in looking for buying opportunities, and that's the reason why the markets pulled back in. Maybe it could be some pullbacks. Maybe they could be looking for better prices. Maybe if they got the good prices that they needed, then hopefully we should be getting the markets possibly moving today. So for this one, the levels are the same. There isn't any change. In as much as the market came down quite aggressively, but the levels are still more or less holding. The market is still contained within these areas right here. The market has pushed to the upside. Let's wait and see if the market can actually break above here. Maybe it might even tap this region where we do have those sellers come back in, see what happens within here. Get a nice opportunity to look for the buys and a nice slowdown and a pullback we can't read, then we could look for the buying opportunities there. If not, then let's see. These sellers do actually react and push the market down, because you can see that the market has reacted off this region before. So as soon as Tuesday, yesterday, some were still off that region. Then you can see that both times when the market has come down off that area, it's come down quite aggressively. So we're not also very sure what to expect, in terms of the sellers pushing the market to the downside. So let's give them the benefit of doubt. If they push the market back down within here, then I guess we'll just have to try and see whether we could get, the buying opportunities of this region right here. So just make sure that you watch out for that, but also remember the red SNR, that's going to be the last area where we will be trying to see whether we can get our aggressive and our last buying opportunities. So moving on into the next one, this is the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. So for this one, this is a new entrant on our watch list. So for this one, we will be trying to see whether we can get some sells. Hopefully you can end up taking note of these 3 areas right here. And for the sake of guys who are new to, new to trading, and you're wondering what's going on, sometimes we're buying and selling and yet we're looking at USD. Make sure that you focus on, the base and the counter currency pair. For the first USDs that we're looking at, the USDs to the right on all of them, which means that if we're looking to sell the USD, then we should be buying the base currency pair, which is the one on the left. So for this one, the USD is the base currency pair. So it's the basis of what we're doing. So if on the watch list, we're looking to sell the USD, then that's exactly what we should be doing here. But for the others, it's going to be the inverse. So this is a new entrant on our watch list. So these are the 3 areas we will be watching out for. We do have an alert here because we're also timing to see what happens. In case price just pushes back in within this area, then we'll be trying to see whether we can get some sells somewhere within this region to come down with the market. So let's see if we can get the market either coming back in somewhere within this area right here, or somewhere as close as possible within here. We just think that maybe it could come back in within here when we're doing the analysis earlier with the team. But let's see if the market doesn't actually come to the upside and hopefully breaks beneath this region to the downside, then I guess we'll have to look and see if we could get some opportunities within this area right here. But definitely in terms of looking for the sales here, may not really be the best of ideas. Reason being, you can see that there's some small SNR within here. Even if I were to put an SNR across this region, you can see that the market has literally bounced off here, even if not the biggest of bounces, but you can generally see that there are also buyers somewhere within this area right here. Push the market to the upside, market came down, and you can see that the number of touches that are appearing within here tells us that there could be some buyers within there. So don't really want to be looking for yourselves where buyers are. Remember, you should always sell with sellers, buy with buyers. So let's wait and see. We could get that pullback coming in. If not, then I guess we'll have to wait and see if we could get the market somewhere down within here and read the story of what happens within that area. So hopefully you've taken note of that. But also remember the red SNR at the top. In case the market breaks above that region, then unfortunately there will be no trade for us. So last but not least, for the currency pairs, we have the euro against the US dollar. So for this one, we'll be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. So bear in mind that the USD is back to the right, so it's the counter currency pair. The euro should be looking for buys, sells on USD. So for this one, you can see that the market is coming up, although not looking the best in terms of how the buyers are coming in. But sometimes the big boys normally come in slowly, then all of a sudden the market picks up, pace. So we wait and see whether that ends up being the case. But we'll generally have to wait and see what happens. Let the market break to the upside, go as high up as it can. Maybe it might even need to tap somewhere within that region there, come back in. Let's see what happens on the pullback. Maybe some attempts to break to the downside of this area before we actually end up looking for those buying opportunities. So let's wait and see what happens within there. But also remember the red SNR here. There's a possibility price can still come back in within there. If you look at how the sellers came down yesterday during the US session, there's a possibility they still might attempt, to break their previous record before they actually give up. And I think just like when we looked at the Great British Pound against the US dollar, when you saw that the market is also coming up very slowly, could mean that the sellers are still in the market and they are really fighting, to push the market to the downside. So let's wait and see if that does end up happening. If that's the case, especially if the market breaks back to the downside of this region and holds below, then I guess you could find the market coming back in within there. Then maybe 430 could find the market back in there for a really good buy. So just make sure that you watch out for that. And I guess that's pretty much it in terms of the currency pair. So hopefully you can end up taking note of that for the guys who checked in a bit late. So we can move on to the indices and the commodities, and you can see that there's also no change on those ones. So we'll start off with the NAS 100. So for this one, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities yesterday. And you can see the three regions right there that Mitch had pointed out, and also an illustration, expecting maybe some sort of a pullback coming back in within this area here. Fortunately, that didn't happen. You can see that the market was somehow in some sort of an upward channel. So it just bounced off somewhere within this area, went to the upside. After it broke the upside, you can see that the market pulled back in within here. Really struggled to pick up from within there during the US session. And you can see that later on, especially during the Asian session, the market has really picked up a bit of steam. So let's see where this one could be heading. Seems like the market could be coming back into challenge. This high is somewhere within there. But right now, the reason why we have this here is because this is a major scenario. And you can see that the price had actually bounced off here. This was back in July, broke to the downside, never came back in for some sort of a retest. And right now, it looks like the market is actually breaking to the upside of that region. So for this one, the levels are still going to be the same. So price has broken to the upside, which is good and which is fine. And in any case, that's what we want to see. We need to see a breach to the upside and a nice strong breach. All we need is to wait and see what happens on the pullback, because we're also not very sure whether that's going to be some sort of a probe, within that area there. So what we're going to do, and the best thing to do, is to actually wait and see if we can get the pullback coming in back within here. If we do, then at least the high where the market actually gets back until, or where it's actually broken up until, then we could actually end up timing to see whether we could get that high or maybe even higher. There's still a bit more room to move to the upside, although be a bit more cautious. You can see that we're also now coming back up to challenge those highs once again. So just make sure that you're also really, really watching out and a bit careful. The best buys could actually be when the market comes in a bit deeper, because also, that actually does end up inciting, a lot of the opposite party to start looking for the selling opportunities, because at least you can also see that within this region, there's a possibility price can come back in here, tap in within that area, maybe give some sort of a retest within here before we actually continue moving to the upside, but also watch out for that region. But right now, at least make sure that you watch out for that. But I think the best buy, especially if the market does end up coming back in and give some sort of a deeper pullback, then at least could be somewhere within that region. But let's wait and see what does end up happening on that one. So the next one, this is the Dow Jones. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. Can't really see the three regions that Mitch had pointed out in the morning. When we're looking at the charts, price was somewhere within this area here. So you can see that at around 9:10, price was here, expecting the market to move to the upside. The buyers did show up. Wasn't much of a pullback. They just rallied up, came in within that region. You can see that the sellers really pushed the market to the downside. And unfortunately, we couldn't get anything to tell us to look for buying opportunities within here. So the market broke to the downside of this area right here. And you can see that the market has actually come back in within this region, somewhere within here. So this one has been playing a bit of games, because even in the morning, it gave us a bit of a headache, with the team trying to figure out what could be going on. But to some extent, maybe it does seem like maybe this could be some sort of either a massive probe or something of the sort, it looks like the big buyers could actually be sitting somewhere within here. So in as much as we're watching out for this area right here, you can see that the market had actually probed within this area, given some sort of a spike within there. And we're not too sure whether this could be it. But let's just give it the benefit of doubt. You could find that the market could easily bounce off that middle area right there. So it's just making some adjustments to our levels, just widening them a bit to see what does end up happening. But of course, let's see what happens. If the market can actually bounce off this area right here and actually hold, above that region to the upside, then at least at that point in time, we could try and see whether we could actually end up getting our buying opportunities. But the bias is to still try and see whether we could get buys. For as long as we're holding above this region to the upside, then we could try and time some buying opportunities. If you do get some sells, you can take them. But the only problem about looking for the sells is that to some extent they could be counters. But maybe looking for the sells maybe higher up could be much, much better. But right now, with this massive probe here, I think the buyers could be up to something. Maybe this is what they need to actually take out this region to the upside, but we'll just have to wait and see what does end up happening. So hopefully you have taken note of that. So the next one, this is silver. Now for silver yesterday, the bias was also to look for buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that Mitch had pointed out, and also an illustration of what to expect. The market did hold within here, but it wasn't until much later on that the market attempted to come to the upside, came back in. Clearly can see that the market is contained within there, so some sort of a range that could be happening within this area here. So the levels are the same for this one. Let's see what does end up happening. Are we going to break above that region to the upside? This high right here, but maybe the sellers might need to push the market down. Maybe the buyers might need to regroup before the market actually ends up making a go. But in case we don't get the market coming back in within here, then I guess it's possibly much better to wait and see if we could possibly get the market breaking above this region, especially if these buyers who had pushed the market to the upside actually do end up showing up. I think we should get the market breaking above, this region to the upside, and we could get some proper buys within there. So just make sure that you watch out for that. But also watch out for these two other areas here. Remember, for as long as we're holding above the red SNR, the buyers should be to look for those buying opportunities. But there's also a possibility price could just tap back in within here, maybe attempt to get a price better than this. If that happens and the market holds within here, maybe you could also end up getting a buy within there. But for as long as price is between these two levels right here, like it is right now, those type of trades can be a bit tricky unless you're a real ninja and a real sniper on the charts and you know how to read the story, maybe on a smaller time frame, especially like on the 1 minute, 3 minutes, so that you can get some proper risk to reward on it. But I would suggest that you possibly end up waiting to see what happens, on both extremes, either the breach to the upside or the breach maybe to the downside. Then if the market comes back in, incites the opposite party, then you could look for those buying opportunities. So last but not least, we do have gold. Now for gold, yesterday the bus was to try and see whether we could get some buys. Clearly can't see the three areas that Mitch had pointed out yesterday. The market is still more or less within this area. So you can't see that yesterday at 9, price was here, it came back in. This was during the London market open at 10, just tapped back in within this buyer's region at the bottom right here. You can't see that the market came in full around here, broke to the upside, and then after that, you can see some sort of a pullback before the market attempted to come up higher, and you can see that the market came still back all the way down to within this region right here. So there's some sort of a choppy mess that's going on gold within this region right here, but the level that the story is still the same. So remember, for as long as we're holding above the red SNR, the buyers should be to look for those buying opportunities. So let's see if you can get the market hopefully breaking above this area to the upside. You can see that also looking for the buys within here is also a bit risky, considering the fact that you can see the number of times that the buyers have actually attempted to break to the upside, but the market hasn't actually held to the upside. You can see it broke the upside, came back, it did a probe, did another probe within there. So right now, unless we get some proper confirmation that the market is actually holding above this area, then at that point in time, don't really end up looking for the buying opportunities. But let's really keep our fingers crossed. At least if we can get the market coming back in within this area here, especially based on the structure that's formed within here. I mean, if we're in a range, then you definitely know the best area to look for your buying opportunities is definitely at the bottom of the range, not at the top. So my best bet and the best buys are definitely somewhere within this area right here. But also watch out for this region. Consider the market has also tapped in within this area a number of times, although it comes in within this area quite fast, but you can also find the market still coming back in somewhere within here. You know, the buyers really trying to fetch those good prices and some good liquidity so that they can actually take out this region right here, because, you know, they definitely want to be pushing this one up higher, maybe trying to get all the way till 27. So we'll just have to wait and see what does end up happening. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms of everything. So I hope you've all taken note of that. So let's look at the Q&A section to see what guys are saying. So I see Alan Ronald there saying, hi, John, thanks a lot. Good to see you, Alan, here. In as much as the economy is not the best, but you've never really economized in terms of your Thanksgiving. So that's really good. So good to see you here in Karibu Sana. I see Agnes, you're asking for GBP yen, Euro yen, and AUD USD. So GBP yen. So for this one, we're trying to see whether we can end up looking for buying opportunities. So hopefully you can end up taking note of those 3 or more or less 4 areas that I do have. This one is a minor area. In case the market comes back in within here, then we could try and see whether we could get some buys. But let's wait and see. We can get the market breaking above here, like I pointed out, then get the pullback, could possibly try look for buys there. If not, then we'll have to see whether we could get the buy somewhere within there. So that one is GBP yen. You want Euro yen as well. So for this one, same story. And remember, the yens always have some very good correlation. So if you see something happening on one, just make sure that you have a look at the others to see what's happening. So you can see that even this one, it's more or less the same story. So there's a minor SNR here. Let's wait and see if we could get the market breaking above here to the upside. If it does on the pullback, could try and see whether you could get the buying opportunities. If not, then we'll have to wait and see whether we could get the trades, you know, within these areas here. So hopefully you take a note of that. And last but not least, you're asking about AUD USD. So for this one, these are the areas that we're watching out for, more or less the same as yesterday. But this is the story that we're watching out for. So let me just clear this so that at least you end up focusing on what the game plan is for today. So this is what we should be expecting in terms of looking for the buying opportunities. So I hope that is clear for you, Agnes. So I'm not really seeing any more questions, which is perfectly fine. Also do need to get ready to jump in on the charts and also jumping into the AMP. Remember, the Amplified program is still running. We have the October class, which is coming up. We also do have the November class. If you want to jump in on it, then at least if you do end up visiting www.afriforex.com, you should be able to get either that information in the Academy section, or also if you just go to the homepage, if you go down here and enroll, then at least you can also end up getting a bit more information in terms of that. But there should also be a link that's also there on the chat box that you can also end up using, and that will bring you straight into this page right here. So remember, if you do get any trades as well, feel free to send them in to us. Contact details should be there on the chat box, but I'm sure most of you do already have them, and at least we will end up giving you a shout out. Unfortunately, today we couldn't due to unavoidable circumstances, but at least you do know that these things are not recorded. But at least we'll end up showcasing the screenshots that were sent in yesterday to borrow. So with that, happy trading, guys, and bye for now. May the peace be with you. God bless.